Kentucky Afield. Every week, Kentucky Afield brings you features on hunting and fishing across the state.
What a nice fish.
An opportunity to hopefully get that bird in the lake.
Hey, we got another one over here.
There he is. Ooh, a nice one too. Boy, he's healthy.
What do we got? That was awesome. Got the first belt.
Barely made it out in the field.
Got one. Big smallmouth.
Very nice.
Double point, they're in there. There they go.
Look at that joker. Woo!
That's a good one there.
Look at that.
Beautiful.
Whoa, this is a good one.
That's better than good, Chad.
Hello and welcome to Kentucky Afield. I'm your host, Chad Miles. Join us as we journey the Commonwealth in search of outdoor adventure. Archery season is now in for deer, and later on in the show, we're going to show you how to debone your deer in the field. But first up, we're headed to Western Kentucky to catch and band wood ducks. Well, today we're in Ballard County, right here on the bank of a swamp. We're getting ready to do something that's super cool. We've done this one other time, years ago in a different county. What are we getting ready to do today?
So we're getting ready to try to use a rocket net to trap some wood ducks.
Trapping wood ducks, there's a couple reasons why we do this, but it takes some prep work. So we kind of show up for all the fun. You guys have actually been working for a couple weeks to prep this site and get it just right.
You know, it starts actually in midsummer. We come in here and all the vegetation gets sprayed, and we try to clean the site as well as possible, because any sticks or herbaceous vegetation binds our net. So whenever it goes off, it causes issues. You know, some of the original prep work is putting up cameras, getting ducks on bait, getting them used to the site, and then slowly but surely adding in the net, adding in blinds, getting them more acclimated for today, when we're going to actually shoot the net and try to band some ducks.
So you've been baiting these ducks, and you're talking about like hundreds of pounds of what?
Wheat is what we've been using, yep.
So the ducks kind of come in, they find it, and then they start gaining in numbers, and hopefully we get a chance to fire these rockets.
Yep.
So wildlife biologists also need to be bomb technicians as well, it looks like. And these are going to get a charge in them of what? Is it gunpowder?
It is. It's a type of munitions that we're able to get through U.S. Fish. We have a stockpile of those for being able to band well into the future right now.
Okay.
So,
and the idea is to get the data that you want, get these banded, and get them turned loose pretty quickly, right?
absolutely. Looking at weather the last few days, I've been, looking at temperatures. We have in the past been able to band in the afternoons, but it takes a little bit more prep work to make sure the ducks are cool, to make sure they're not overheating, and that we're getting them out of the net and separating them so that they're not getting physically exhausted.
Yeah.
All right, we're all set. Let's get in the ground blind and wait on the ducks.
All right, sounds good.
They're just now coming up on the bank, so we're just waiting on the ducks to get on bait. Hopefully we'll be able to shoot the net here pretty soon. There are tons of ducks right here, right by us right now. Oh yeah, they're flying in and literally landing 15, 20 feet from the shoreline. They tend to get there, stage up, and then they'll cross the net, and you'll see once one of them gets on bait, then they'll all go to bait. These ducks have got more discipline than me. If I was sitting that close to a meal, I'd have a rough time holding on. As they lose confidence, they'll kind of fly back out in the water. They're a little wary. They're kind of testing the waters, if you will. They're all congregating on the bank again, just like before. I can't tell me he's out there, probably 50 or 60. They're crossing the net. Once they cross the net, you'll start seeing them run to bait, and then the others will pick up and fly to bait behind them. It's really neat to watch. I've seen them do that 4 to 5 times before we was actually able to shoot the net. So they're already coming back over the net again. There's still birds on bait, so they're not as afraid to go on up to bait. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot it. 3, 2, 1.
every single time that thing goes off. You know what's gonna happen? It still shocks the crap out of you. So it's a mad dash to try to get these birds out of the net. We want to try to do as little damage to the birds as you possibly can.
That's a female.
Female.
Looks like a female.
There you go.
I'm gonna go in the male cage.
So now they've got all the birds sorted into male versus females. We're going to take these cages back to the truck where they got all the bands. From that point, they'll start sorting them out, banding them, recording the data, and then turning them loose.
We'll run male birds through one side and female birds through the other. We'll have whoever's getting the birds out, they'll check to make sure that it is a male that was put inside of the cage that it was in.
You got the bar shaped wide on the end of the speculum. That indicates a male most of the time. In a female, that white part will be teardrop shaped.
These guys have been doing it for years and they're able to spot some of the adult birds. That's really what we're looking for mostly, is the adult females. Yeah, I'm gonna call that an adult.
What is the wood duck population in Kentucky like right now?
It's very stable. That's the whole reason that we're doing this banding, is to be able to see the numbers year after year, get that recapture data, and be able to map these birds and where they're going and how they spend their winters.
This is a conservation aspect. If you want to duck hunt, the department has to have this project going forward for early wood duck season. And I think the department is pretty well committed to it. I know that our sportsmen and women here in the state of Kentucky that do duck hunt enjoy that early duck season. Tell me some areas that'd be good for wood duck hunting. Obviously, right here at Boatwright is a good location.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of WMAs across the state that have options to be able to wood duck hunt. Even in the eastern part of the state, some of the rivers and lakes, there's a good number of wood ducks that are there.
Last bird, look at that brand new hardware on there. Turn it loose, ready? Well, I'll tell you what, coming down here and doing this is always a lot of fun, and I don't know how else you can get this up and close and personal with wood ducks or other forms of wildlife, literally in your hand. Thank you so much. It's been a blast.
Archery deer season is now in, and when you're successful, you may find out that dragging a deer out of the field is a lot of work. But deboning a deer in the field might be what's best for you. Today what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to debone a deer in the field. Now this is a little bit different than quartering an animal, which you may have seen done before. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to go through the process of not breaking any bones and taking this deer and putting it into a game bag so that we can transport it out, leaving everything else here. Now this deer has been field dressed already. We're going to use a couple of tools here. This is the knife that we use to field dress it. I'm going to use another blade. This here is an outdoor edge. It's a razor blade. We're going to wear protective gloves, and we've got a game bag. These are like cheesecloth game bags that are very common. So let's get these gloves on and we'll get started. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start here on the back, right where the neck hits into the shoulder, and I'm going to make an incision all the way down this deer, pull this hide back and remove the back straps. And at that point in time, once I pull this hide back, I'll be able to expose not only the front shoulder but the back hams, and I will come back and start taking off those chunks of meat on both the front and the back. So start that off. I'm going to use my little zipper blade here and go right in here at the neck and make this pull right here. Now once I've got my first incision there, I'm going to start pulling this hide. Now if you'll pull this hide, it'll start coming off almost on its own. Take your blade, start making your cuts here and separating the hide from the actual body of the deer here. Now I'm pulling all of this cape, the hide back this way, and the reason I'm doing that is it takes all the hair with it, and it also gives me a spot that if I need to lay something down, one, it's easy to find, and two, it's a better way to keep it clean. It's also keeping my meat clean. Now I'm exposing that front shoulder, you can see. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to take the back straps out. Now the back straps lay right along the spinal cord from the front shoulder all the way down to the beginning of the back hams. So So we're literally going from here to about here, and that's where they're at. The easiest way to get them out is to go right in by the spinal cord, right beside the back ham, as close as you can get, and start making your cut, close as you can get to that spinal cord, right up through here like this. So what I've done here is I've literally went right down the edge of that spine on this one side and exposed this back strap right here. Now, once I get there, I'm gonna come down here right at the back ham, right where this piece of meat runs into the back ham right here. I'm gonna make a cut. There's a couple different ways you can do this. You can start here and start working it around till you get to the top of the rib cage, or you can find the top of the rib cage, which is right here, and work it this way. But once you start getting it out, it's very circular shape. You'll be able to get your hand on it and start pulling it out and just kind of make some feathering cuts. Take it right out. You know, some people will tell you that the inner loins are the best piece. In my opinion, inner loins are really good. There's just a whole lot more of this. That's a beautiful piece of meat right there. We're gonna go ahead and bag it up. Now, you can see that piece of meat was removed from right there. Now, there's another one on the other side, but while we've got the deer laid up this way, we're gonna go ahead and start working on the back ham. The way I like to do this is to separate these out in muscle groups. It's the same way I do it when I process my own meat at home. There's two ways to do it. You can take a boning knife in and just run along the bone and pull it off into a big chunk. I don't package it that way, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it the way that I would be doing it at home. And that is, you find this seam right here. What you've got is you've got 3 or 4 distinct pieces of meat in here. You got this right here, then you've got these two, which I'm gonna take off together, then you got the back round. So what I do is you'll find this spot, it's very easy to see. When you come through and you make a cut, when you make that cut there, now that I've got that cut, I'll open this up, kind of feeling around where the meat there is. All right. All this type of, this seam, the silver seam, I'll leave some of that on in this process because it will protect the meat from getting any additional dirt, bacteria. You see that you can't help flies are gonna lay on it. I'll leave a little bit of this on there and then clean it up at the very last minute. Now, I take this, you see there's another seam right here. I take this one and the next one out together. Now, once you get to this area, there's a bone that comes off right by the tail and it moves like a Y. So you have to be able to trace around that bone, and right here, I'll show you, I'll make this cut. It lays right here. See that bone? I'm tracing around that bone. Once I've got that where I can get my fingers in there, I'll put a light pull, make some cuts with the knife, and this piece ought to come out pretty easily. This is much easier if you've got another set of hands. Let's get this cleaned up a little bit. Now that is that big muscle group right there. It's actually 2 different muscles. You can see 1 and 2. This is great for a whole lot of applications. You can grind it. You can use this for burger, sausage. You can cut steaks out of this. There's a whole lot of different things you can do. Now, it doesn't look very great now, but I'm gonna get this cleaned up when I get home. I wouldn't wash it a whole lot because there could be some bacteria on that, and you could introduce the bacteria onto more areas of the meat. Take it just like this, get home and get a real sharp knife, and you can take this stuff right off, and it'll just leave an absolute beautiful cut of meat. Let's get this bagged. Now, once you get that big piece off, you can see this hip bone right here. Plain as day. See that? That's what that is. That's the hip bone. So what we want to do now, we want to come in and make a cut and trace right along that leg bone right there. You can feel it. It's very easy to feel and find. See that bone? That femur bone that goes down here? I'm just made a cut and I'm just taking this meat right off of that bone. Watch your fingers when you're doing this. All right, there's that big chunk of meat. Came right there, Take that, it's ready to bag. Now, right here is the hip bone again. We're gonna come in around that hip bone, make a cut. Got a big chunk of meat there. It's almost like the continuation of the back straps. There you go. Very good piece of meat there. So now, you can see this leg is getting pretty thin here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this back ham and this lower shank, and because the shank is the way I've got it laid out here is actually covering a little bit of the back ham, I'm gonna take the lower shank first. So to do that, I'm gonna come right here where it connects, make a cut. Remember, I'm trying not to break any bone, and there's actually 2 pieces of meat down here. We got a tendon here. We're gonna try to leave that there with the deer. There we go. We got the portion of the shank there. That's the outer portion. Got one more little piece on the inside. Then we're gonna get that back ham out. Again, I grab these pieces of meat and I find where it attaches to the bone, trace the leg bone right down. All right, we got those out. Bottom is pretty much done. Now we're gonna come up here and we're going to start getting this back ham off. I'm gonna separate it from the femur right here and work this back ham off. And then I'm gonna go on the other side. There's a lot of different ways that people do this. We're trying to showcase a way here that we're not breaking any bone. A lot of times you'll see people come in and make a cut and separate this all out. Like I say, we're trying to do this today, breaking no bones. All right, so now I'm just working this knife in and around the pelvis, making the cuts, separating the meat from the hide and the pelvis bone. You can see that is a big, beautiful piece of meat right there. So, right here by this hip, these are the inner loin. So we went in here, made a cut right here, and you can see right here are the inner loins. While we're here, we're gonna go ahead and take these out. That's this side, inner loin, and we flip the deer over, we'll get the other sides. So we've kind of finished up the back straps, all the back hams, the inner loin, and now we're gonna start working on the front shoulder. Once we get the front shoulder meat out, we'll take some meat from the neck, and essentially the process is half done. It's exactly the same on the other side. So let's go over here now and locate this shoulder. Now, a lot of different ways I've seen people do this. What I like to do is locate that shoulder. The interesting thing about a deer's front shoulder is that really there's no bones attached. You can come in and find that front shoulder blade and literally kind of carve around it, and it will come completely off, separated. What we're gonna do now is we've got the shoulder almost separated. We're gonna make a cut along from where the brown meets the white. We're gonna make a cut right here and cut up through here to the elbow. And now once we get there, we're gonna take it on up. Once we get that done, we're gonna pull the hide back. May need a knife to do some of this. Here we go. Now, at this point in time, I've got the hide away. I'm gonna leave it right here on the carcass and use this as a workstation. Now I'm gonna try to separate this out in muscle groups again. You can see that bone comes right through here as part of the shoulder blade. I'm gonna make a cut right here. Once I get that in, I'm gonna start peeling that meat right off. What I'm doing here is I'm working along that shoulder blade right there. I'm just kind of almost filleting it off there. It's very similar to the back. I'm just trying to separate these out in the biggest muscle groups that I can get. Now this part's going to take some cleanup. When you get into the kitchen, you got all this connective tissue. I will get this in and clean it up exactly as I want it when I get back in to the kitchen on a table. That is the majority of the meat right there on this front shoulder. Now you see I still have some here and I've got a little bit down here, but that is the big portion of it. So let's get this bagged. So now we've got our shoulder that's separated. We've got the big part on the outside of the shoulder blade. We're going to come in on this side of the shoulder blade, make another cut up through there. These are really good for grinding for burger, jerky, or sausage. This is perfect cuts of meat for that. So we had the piece of shoulder meat that was on the back side, a little bit bigger, piece of shoulder meat come off of the front side. We're gonna lay that right there. We've got a little bit down here. We're gonna get that off by locating the bone and making a cut right down there to it. Now this particular piece of meat right here is a lot of individual little muscle groups in there. It's kind of stringy. Again, it's good to be ground, or you can cut it into stuff for jerky. So I'm not gonna sit here and try to separate this out in individual muscle segments in the field. All I'm trying to do is to get this piece of meat off so that it can be used, leaving all the bone behind. All right. Essentially our front shoulder is now picked pretty clean. We're done there. So now the last piece of meat that we're gonna get out is gonna be the neck meat. You kind of see where the neck meat lays. It kind of ends right in this area here. So what we want to do is to go in right inside where we took that piece of meat off of the shoulder. We're going to go in, go right down to the spine here, make that cut. And you can see it's just a big sheet of meat that kind of starts right under the shoulder blade. It works its way up here in and around the neck. There you go. That is the neck meat. Now, it looks like there's some meat here. We're right on top of the spinal column. Very, 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 very little bits of meat there. I'm not gonna take a chance on any of that because remember, we're doing this, we're deboning a deer to try to avoid any contamination with any of the bones or the spinal column. So we're gonna leave that right there. We'll bag this up. So essentially, that's exactly half of the process. To recap, we came in, we made a cut along the back, we removed the back straps. We took those out, we came in, we found a seam, made a slice on the back ham, took that out, separated that out in muscle groups. Came down and removed the lower shank, went in, took out the inner loins, then we moved to the front, made a cut there where the shoulder blade is, removed the back part out, came and did the exact same thing on the front, went down and got the lower shank, removed the front leg bone, went in and removed the neck meat. Now, the other side is exactly the same. So that's exactly what you want to do. When you get done here, you're going to have all of your meat completely deboned in a bag and ready to go. If you're someone who's used to taking your complete deer out at home and doing this, you know, then you've got to deal with how you're going to discard the waste. This is a great way to do that. If you're someone who's used to quartering the meat, you might want to give this a try as well. Once you get this done, you got very little bones or nothing to handle after that. And if you're in an area that's a CWD surveillance zone, to move that deer out of that CWD surveillance zone, this is now required. So give it a try. Make sure you take the right tools and be prepared. It's not that bad. Now let's check in and see who else has been out having fun in this week's Ones That Didn't Get Away. Here we have Joe, Lily, and Reagan Toby, who caught these nice hybrids while camping and fishing at Rough River Lake. Nice job. Check out this picture of Andy May. This is her very first fish ever. She caught this fish at Green River Lake. Nice job. Good luck to all those archery deer hunters out there. But don't forget to wear your safety harness. And remember, hunting and fishing on private property is a privilege. Always ask permission and thank the landowner. Until next week, I'm your host, Chad Miles, and I hope to see you in the woods or on the water.
It's getting close to every hunter's favorite time of the year. It's time to pick out a good tree, practice with your equipment, and get ready to hit the woods for Kentucky's deer, archery, and crossbow seasons. Archery season starts on the first Saturday of September, and crossbow season starts on the third Saturday. Be sure you have your hunting license and tags and are up to speed on all the rules and regulations. For more information, visit fw.ky.gov or call 1-800-858-1549. Do you like to fish in Kentucky? Then you'll love the new Fishboat KY app. Search for new bodies of water, fishing regulations, and fishing reports. You can even save your fishing license. The Fishboat KY app has all of that and more, all in the palm of your hands. What are you waiting for? Download it from your app store and go plan your next fishing adventure right now.